Hi, have you thought about how artificial intelligence, AI, stands as a double-edged sword in the dynamic world of cybersecurity? Well, I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I figured how our webinar, AI in Cybersecurity, Revolutionizing Defense and Upping the Ante in Offense, so we will delve deep into the paradigm shifts AI has introduced in cybersecurity techniques. While AI-driven solutions have fortressed digital assets, malicious entities harness their potential to mount intelligent and unpredictable attacks. Explore the nuances of this duality with us, as our panel of seasoned experts from various industries decode the blessings and the curses AI brings to the cybersecurity domain. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't want to miss one.
Well, there you have it. What an introduction. Good day to all, especially our participants joining us from around the world. Welcome to our webinar titled AI in Cybersecurity, Revolutionizing Defense and Upping the Ante in Offense. We are poised to delve deep into the ever-evolving world of cybersecurity as augmented by especially advances in artificial intelligence. I am really honored because I have two powerful ladies joining me this afternoon. Despite the weather conditions being hot, I'm very much honored that they are really dedicating their afternoon to this discussion and to this exciting webinar. And so that at least we have an appreciation of who are these powerful ladies, allow me to introduce my panelists, and I'm looking forward really to an exciting engagement. So first off, I have Nashilongo Kevasius, who is a public interest technologist with over 15 years experience in ICT policy, media and communication field. She is a media and communications lecturer at the Namibia University of Science and Technology and the founding president and board member of the Internet Society Namibia chapter and an advisor to the Namibia National Working Group on Internet Governance Forum. She had served in the Namibian National 4IR Task Force, where she chaired the subcommittee on infrastructure, ICT and energy and national data. She is the director of Namtue Digital, a technology hive at the intersection of tech policy, research, program implementation, and design, as well as strategic communication. This is just a snippet of who Nashilongo is. To be honest with you, her CV is longer than this. We just tried to just condense it, and I sometimes wonder how she does some of the things that she does. Also maybe might want to call it to a different webinar to say, how do you deal in a crazy world and achieve more than one can expect? That's Nashilongo for you. Allow me to introduce my next panelist, Tuli Mkwanazi. She is a cybersecurity specialist working in the Defense and Security Cluster in the Information and Cybersecurity Center. She holds a Master of Information Technology degree with a research focus on national cybersecurity policy framework for digitization in South Africa. Her current role at the CSIR entails advancing cybersecurity through governance and skills development. With their expertise in the cybersecurity domain and passion for making the digital world more secure, Tuli has invested interest in collaborative work to devise solutions to protect individuals, organizations, and governments from cyber threats. Still, also, when it comes to Tuli, I know there are other engagement that she also does with PICTA and in the community, and we are really honored to be having Tuli as our panelist this afternoon. That could be a morning, depending on your time zone. But all the same, what I can ask you to do is what? Grab a glass of water, sit back, relax. Allow me to now give an opportunity to my panelists to start off their interventions. I will start off with Nashilongo. If you're ready, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Prof, and thank you for the opportunity to be engaging with the PyKta community on this very important topic. I think the video that you've played, but also your introduction, all in all, has summarized really, the connections of AI and how it's increasingly being used in defense. Maybe I could just highlight a couple of things here from my notes, that we're seeing more and more, particularly in the developing world, developing markets, that AI is being used for cybersecurity in different ways, analyzing vast amounts of data. For instance, it is used for predictive maintenance of military equipment. It is used for to power drones and unmanned ground vehicles, for instance, for surveillance, for recon, and even combat operations. Maybe something more to things that I really close to my heart is that AI is being used to analyze social media and other data sources to track potential threats and terrorists. So a few weeks ago, I think I was in San Francisco attending an AI conference, and there was something that caught my mind, and I think I'm going to be working around with it for a couple of times. There was a high level officials from the U.S. Department of State, and he was just analyzing the kind of investments that the U.S. Department of State is doing is investing in artificial intelligence, from building models. It is just amazing. I think from a Pan-African point of view, I think that tells us the kind of work that we need to do, the kind of actions to really pay attention to as a region, and the kind of investment. I think, as you know, of the 54 African countries, from a policy perspective, I think about 6 of them has some sort of national document frameworks that highlights, issues of AI, from autonomous to large language models and things like that. So that is 6. And in many of the conversations that we're having at from a policy level, the question is, why is the African region, for instance, taking so long to get there, right? The answer has always been, but how do we want to move into creating frameworks and policies and regulations of technologies that we do not know about, technologies that we're not investing, technologies that our governments and private sector are not investing in developing and solving local issues. So that obviously puts not just the African continent, but the global South at a very peculiar space of always thinking about defense, but also our usual, really, which has been, consuming and using these technologies that are driven or produced everywhere elsewhere, and we are supposed to implement, work with it, for instance, and we don't know. Maybe we would have an idea the far-reaching impact of the kind of data that we are feeding into these machines, but there's a need for us to be doing more in building our own models, building our own solutions, and that way we can really deal with cybersecurity issues from the African perspective. But I also want to just really reflect the Prof, to say security and cybersecurity within the African continent is also totally different, right? Because of the different governance systems that we have in many of our countries. And we know legitimate government, but also so many models and sort of frameworks on how these governing structures are sort of practice or manifesting on the ground. So you found out, for instance, maybe as we progress further as a continent, we'll find out maybe models that we'll be building or models that we'll be adopting or deploying could be found that they are insecure or pose risk in a couple of countries. But another country, because of maybe the way how they govern from a perspective of their governance, could clearly embrace those kind of machines or models. So again, I think that calls us to really reflect on or to embrace again those UNESCO guidelines on AI in when we're drawing our policies, but actually even in the practice, right? When we're implementing those frameworks to making sure that AI is being used responsible. And I think the within the responsible guardrail, we're seeing that that's really that's possibly the key issue for developing markets such as Africa, for instance. Yeah, Prof, let me pause here and I yield back to you.
Thank you, Nashilonko. You have really opened up a number of discussion directions and pointers that we need to explore in this webinar. And I like some of the aspects that you're bringing in on the table, which is why I like the whole interdisciplinary approach that we've actually employed for this particular workshop, because sometimes we normally tend to have this kind of a biased approach to say we having people only from cybersecurity, but now when we also start getting perspective from other domains, it also helps us to appreciate even the other aspects that we also needed to be looking at, even from the general IT applications, IT use, even the whole aspects around policy, governance, etc. And I'm happy that we have you here as part of our panelists for us to really dig deep into these aspects. I can't wait for the next segment where we are going to be revisiting some of these questions. If you are joining us, please, we are here discussing around this interesting title for the webinar, where we are talking of AI in cybersecurity, revolutionizing defense and upping the ante in offense. And I'm joined here with really two powerful women, Nashilongo Gebesius and Tuli Mkwanazi. And right now we are just at the beginning. They're just giving their very few remarks before we get into the heat of the discussion very soon. What I would encourage you to do, please, if you're listening us on our social media platforms, do post your questions as the discussions are going on. We'll sure to really attend to those questions. So sit back, relax. Maybe before we open up for Tuli to take the floor, we can just take a very small commercial break just to hear from our AI just a simple synopsis about this webinar that you are actually tuned into.
Hi, have you thought about how artificial intelligence, AI, stands as a double-edged sword in the dynamic world of cybersecurity? Well, I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I figured how our webinar, AI in Cybersecurity, Revolutionizing Defense and Upping the Ante in Offense, so we will delve deep into the paradigm shifts AI has introduced in cybersecurity techniques. While AI-driven solutions have fortressed digital assets, malicious entities harness their potential to mount intelligent and unpredictable attacks. Explore the nuances of this duality with us, as our panel of seasoned experts from various industries decode the blessings and the curses AI brings to the cybersecurity domain. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't want to miss one.
Right, welcome back. We are still on the first part of our segment where we're just having the initial remarks from our panelists. We just heard from Nashilongo. Now we move on to Tuli. Tuli, over to you. You can take it away with your 10-minute intervention from here.
All right. Thank you, Prof. Yeah, I'm also excited to be here to be discussing AI in cybersecurity. It's very it's an interesting field, honestly, because both AI and cybersecurity, I would say they are multidisciplinary. There's really a lot that we can draw from each field. So I think the challenge will be keeping everything at a narrow scope, but we will try by all means to do that. So, my perspective, honestly, of AI and cybersecurity is with any technology, when it is still new, when it is still a novice technology, there's a hype around it. Whether it's a hype of excitement or it's panic from people, I would say that it's normal for everyone to feel that way. And even through research, you know that with any technology at its early stages, there's usually a hype around it, and there is a need for adoption from different industries. And then there will come a time where it will stop being novice, and by then we would have a lot of experience and also knowledge as to how to navigate really with AI, whether regulation thereof, as Nashilongo was speaking about it. I think it's going to be easier as time moves on. We will have the experience and we will know how to navigate, and we will reach a point where now we are able to adopt these technologies with knowledge, and also not focusing on only technology, but also how are we going to govern the use of these technologies. But yeah, it's interesting, and it has really shifted the paradigm in cybersecurity. But what I've noticed is that it has really enhanced what is already there, both in the offensive side and in the defensive side. It's really a tool, and I would like us to look at it within that lens, that it's not here to replace human beings. I mean, AI is not here to replace human beings, but it is there to be used as a tool. Now, the downside of any tool, you can use a knife to cut an apple and eat it, or you can use it to stab someone. So it is important for all of us to be able to navigate around it appropriately, and put controls in place as to how we can really leverage on this exciting technology. On really, so on my side is that there's this thing with singularity where you hear people saying, oh, robots are going to take over and it's going to be an apocalypse. But I don't think so. We will hopefully will live for many years to see that happening, if it will ever happen. But I just think it should be used as a tool, and we shouldn't be in panic, but rather just leverage on the technology, learn more, upskill ourselves, and yeah, just enjoy the benefits of AI. Even in cybersecurity, there are a lot of benefits, and I will be presenting as we go on with this conversation. Yeah, thanks, Prof.
Thank you, Tuli, for those initial remarks. Um, I think we have gotten really on a good note, and now it has opened up a bit of some grounds to really now dig deep into some of these aspects. So allow us, even also our participants online, please do drop in those questions or aspects that you would want us to really touch on. Now we're going to start our first section in terms of the deliberations, and where I would now invite my panelists to really go deeper into the initial remarks and unpack this topic that we are discussing here. So I will start off with a question to you, Truly, because you've already touched on some of the aspects that I want us to really expand on. So, in case maybe you would want to share your presentation, maybe you could do that while at least I'm proceeding to jump on to my first question, where I would want you to say, based on your experience in cybersecurity, Please, could you elaborate more on how AI has shifted the traditional paradigms? And the second question that I would want you to also touch on, could you share some AI-driven cybersecurity solutions that have significantly narrowed down the threat vectors? If you could expand on us on those two aspects for now, then we can take it up from there. Over to you.
All right. Thank you, Prof. So just to begin with, well, I tried to create some slides. I like having a picture whenever I'm talking. So just before we can begin understanding AI, what it is really, it is the ability of computers to perform tasks that are usually performed by human beings. So it is computers having the intellect that we human beings have, and being able to make decisions. So just doing tasks that mimic human behavior. So for example, we know that robots can have a human body, like Sophia, the robot that you can see on the picture. They can make decisions, they're able to reason, understand, learn. Languages, we see that now there's large language models, which are a thing currently. They can see, they can talk. So AI is an umbrella term for machine learning. And then under machine learning, we know that it is algorithms that really enable computers to be smarter over time through experience. So within machine learning, we also have deep learning. So deep learning is applying machine learning in um, making sense of large data. So, deep learning is inspired by how human beings can filter through information. So, that is how I can really try and simplify AI to everyone. And as we are having these discussions, keep this in mind. So AI systems, to categorize them, we have expert systems, we have autonomous systems, augmented reality, and neural networks. And then from each category, we will then see these many technology applications that come from artificial intelligence. So with expert systems, we know that so it's computer programs that can solve complex issues, and they solve this through their knowledge base. So they would have knowledge in a specific domain, whether it's in medicine or computer science. So with autonomous systems as well, we can see there's robots now, there's sensors, IoT, drones, self-driving cars. And then augmented reality is it's one of my favorite, where you blend, or rather these computer programs are blending a digital environment and a physical environment. So you would see it is where your real world is simulated rather digitally. And then we also have neural networks. So if we can take this generalization of AI and have a picture of how it can be applied in cybersecurity to enhance cybersecurity, understand where we are coming from with this discussion. So to answer your question, Prof, we have really seen how AI has redefined cybersecurity. And then just to break down cybersecurity, we will see AI in administrative controls. But rather, let me start with technical, because that is where a broad application of AI is being used, specifically in cybersecurity. Also in physical controls, in this domain, think, for examples, biometrics. So yeah, that is how AI is being implemented in cybersecurity. And we also have administrative controls, though. So this is where we have our policies, our standards, frameworks, as Nashilonga was saying. However, we also do have the human aspect here, especially education, training, and awareness. So that is where we will see how AI has been applied to enhance cybersecurity skills. In the administrative controls, we also have like your incident response plans. So we see how AI has really enhanced that and how it has shifted. Now, to explain or rather to discuss the examples that I have included in the slide. The first one is we can use AI in cybersecurity for secure user authentication. So this is where an AI technology would study a user's login behavior. And over time, it would then create a profile of how this user logs in, and it just gathers data. So, should there be a deviation from that, that AI system can pick it up, it and it does this very swiftly and proactively. So we know that in cybersecurity, the biggest challenge is being proactive and not only reacting after an incident has occurred. So AI has really shifted the dynamics in that it has catered to that proactivity in cybersecurity that we have been lacking for a long time. So even with botnet detection, we can see that this is also an application that increases proactivity because it can detect botnets. Botnets are a pain in the world of cybersecurity because it's a network of computers that would then launch attacks. So the issue here is that it's difficult to trace these botnets, these networks of computers. So through clustering approaches, which is an AI intervention, I would say, it is helping with detecting botnets, which has been really a pain for a long time. And then with cyber incident forecasting, so this is where you would use like behavioral patterns to study how an incident would occur, or take previous data from how an incident occurred, and you form patterns. So and AI systems would create these patterns and be able to forecast when an event like this could occur. So this could enhance, or it does rather help like your cyber forensic teams into devising solutions that can mitigate against cyber incidents before they can even happen. We also have network intrusion and detection, and also prevention. So we know that with log data, or or an analysis of any network, it is large data sets, and it's really impossible for a human being or a cybersecurity team to go through them whenever they are investigating an incident. So we find AI really intervening in this space, in that it can detect these, and it comes up with really uh, great reports that are going to be useful in making decisions and really resolving an incident in a short space of time. We also have spam filter applications. Now with spam emails, where phishing attacks could be launched, it's very important for organizations or even human beings to have spam filters, because that is the easiest way for a malware to be distributed to users. So there are really good AI tools that can filter spam proficiently. We also see AI in fraud detection. So this is data analysis. This is where we also see AI being applied to study these large data sets in order to detect any fraudulent activity or any anomalies in a network, or it could be in cyber forensics where a case is being investigated, and AI can be used to then draw patterns to see where you know, to investigate and trace where the incident came from, for instance. So yeah, I don't know, Prof, if I should continue or wait for the next question.
Right. So that at least we can also hear from Nashilonko within this segment. Let's take a pause here. You already have highlighted a number of aspects and examples, and I'm liking especially what you are really bringing on the table, because for some of us who are very good note takers, I've written already copious pages of notes right now. Thank you for that, Chili. I'm going to be making some follow-on questions on some of the aspects you've already highlighted. Let me just pose two questions to Nashilonko, then we can circle back to some of the aspects you have highlighted. So, Nashilonko, with your rich background in tech policy and program design, could you enlighten us about the unforeseen challenges or vulnerabilities that AI may have introduced? That would be my first question. And my second question to you will be, considering the market is flooded with AI solutions, how can businesses differentiate between genuine AI powered solutions and AI washed products in the cybersecurity market? Those will be my two questions for you. Over to you.
Thank you, Prof. And glad the conversation is flowing well. So maybe in highlighting some of the foreseen, some of the challenges and maybe the vulnerability, and I hope I'm not going to restrict this too much again to to the Africa region, but really the biggest challenges we seeing AI poses in cyber security privacy issues. As we know, the AI systems largely uses individual data, larger number of data. Most of that could be individuals. Again, given our continent and the challenges that we have with lack of laws, privacy laws, particularly that updated and speaks to privacy in the technology, in the digital world, we're seeing a whole lot of challenges with compliance in respecting privacy of individual data that could be used for such data, right? Maybe another one I could highlight would be, I think, also related to issues of data, maybe not private data at this case, but issues of data sovereignty. And I think this is a big issue that we've been engaging in the policy forums that we engage. With constant flow of data, which is flowing across all types of all different borders, there could be a number of conflict in dealing that with AI powered machines, and really maybe more from a regulation point, because of our laws that we have, and most of our laws are very internal looking, and at times also comes against international laws and agreements. So, for instance, again, it would ask us a lot in making sure that our data protection laws across the continent or across regions maybe would be able to speak the same language. And we see that anyway. We already have those many challenges. Just agreeing, for instance, on endorsing the Malabo Convention, which is the African Union law that deals with protection of data and sort of telling member nations on how local laws could look like, right? So we're seeing, for instance, in the Southern African region, where we have South Africa, who is a bit more advanced, not only in private sector investment in the deployment and the building of AI models, but also having their laws in place. And then we have other countries like ourselves and maybe but more others in the region who don't have maybe data protection laws, but also investments and the development and deployment of AI tools are really led by private sector, and doing that without being governed by national laws. So, for instance, I think one of the questions that we've always been asking, particularly in Namibia, is we have applications, AI-powered applications that are deployed within the Namibian market, deployed or developed in South Africa, for instance, with data from across the region because of the autonomy that the South African market has for this in the Southern African region. And that's a good thing, right? To have a regional powerhouse, right? But we're seeing again, for instance, our insurance, our banks, preferring to do a lot of building of those machines from elsewhere, and that could be dangerous, particularly again because of data sovereignty. What would mean in that case, and doing that within the absence of laws, right? So maybe moving on. I don't know if I could touch on one more. Is again, I think, related to regulations. Regulations differ so much from region to region, and also because they prioritize the country's sovereign's interest, right? And unfortunately, that's the Africa that we're doing. Maybe with the AFCTA, we could be seeing a bit more harmonization, right? And once that harmonization happens, benefiting the trade, it could also put nations' interest from a cybersecurity point at the center, but also maybe because we could be using secure, similar payment methods or similar markets. Maybe AI in this case could be used to protect the interest, or like offset cybersecurity from the other end, and put a bit more people and a bit more nations' interest at heart, right? I don't know if I have more time, but I really wanted to reflect on accountability and transparency, which has always been very key issues for us in the policy space. As we're thinking about, deploying AI models, AI tools to help us get to the next stage, I think this is what Tuli was saying, that really AI is here to assist us, to help us. I know the other narratives count us differently, but I think from a development point of view, we really believe that technology can only make humanity better. So, but in doing that, there's a need for accountability and transparency. We're not seeing that at this point, forthcoming by particular private sector, because that's who we see driving the deployment and development of AI models and tools, right? So once we had come to some sort of level where industries are able to tell us, look, these are the models that I have, these are the tools, AI tools that I use at my company. This is the kind of data that we have. This is how we collected it, and this is how we use it, and how do we. This is what we do to make sure that if for instance, a concern is raised about it, we're able to rebuild or to fix those many holes, for instance. And that is not what we are looking at, right? But it also, maybe from private sector perspective, they're like, look, we just want to build solutions, and we want to solve societal problems, and doing that in a faster way. So please ask us questions later, if at all, right? So there's a need, again, that the technologists come together, constantly engage with the policymakers, but also concerned communities in understanding really that, in arraying those fears of AI taking jobs, or AI can be used for, robot guns can be used for war in DRC or anywhere else, that those constant engagement happens, that private sector is proactive in publishing their reports about their transparencies, and also being very accountable of whatever happens. There was an example that I had recently. Somebody saying that technology in general is like, especially in our current era, it's like the beginning of the building of a car, right? In the beginning, I'm sure somebody built a car and it only had a steering wheel, right? Maybe a steering wheel and the rolling wheels on the ground, right? Maybe it lacked windows, or it lacked seat belts, or it lacked back chairs, all of those things. And that's all of those things are really what we should be thinking about as we move forward, even in looking at AI tools and building those models, to make sure that we fit all of those holes, that the car can function perfectly and it can protect whoever is on that car. Prof? I think you had another question. The other
Yes.
question is, yes.
Yes. So my other question was, I think you touched a bit around that, where I was talking of the market being flooded with AI solutions. So how can business differentiate between genuine AI-powered solutions and AI-washed products in the cybersecurity market? So when I heard you even also touching on the transparency aspect and accountability, I think you were also highlighting around that aspect. You could expand if there are other points you would also still want to emphasize on that one as well.
Yeah. I think my in expanding that, I really want to really raise the issue of homegrown AI developed tools and systems, right? That we spend a lot of our dollars, that's private sector, to build solutions from local needs. And I know that that could be also problematic, right? For business point of view, they'll be like, oh, but I can't what's the word that is used, like, I can't use this in a different market. What's I think there's a specific word for it. Prof, are you able to help me?
Okay, so are you mostly referring to the jurisdiction restrictions in, for instance, or
Yeah, no. It's really, I think it's expansion, but I think there's a specific word I'm missing here, that private sector or software developers and or UTech colleagues would use to say, what's the purpose of using of having all of this data and building such a massive system or tool, but it can only be used for one specific market or for one specific sector? How about I think it's scaling. I think the word I'm looking for is scaling, right? So
okay,
yeah, so that's really what I was trying to say, that let's focus on, there's a need for the African market to focus on building African AI solutions that answers to our needs, and also helping that they can be scaled within the Africa region. That's really how I'm saying. And with that also comes some sort of, not maybe responsibility, to say that this is homegrown products, we can fix it very easily, as in compared to us buying systems, coming and deploying them in our markets, and most of the time are not fit for purpose, or could answer to one specific thing and cannot answer to many others. And in the end, you've spent money as a country to acquire such systems, use it and not use it adequately, as in compared to um, you know pump funding into universities, let them build skills, and let those local skills develop local solutions. If there's a need for integration, good and well, and make sure that those can be used even beyond a country, or across a number of sector. For instance, that's really just what I'm saying. I think that would be possibly the best way to avoid the whitewashing, using whitewashed systems, just amongst others. Thanks, Prof.
Thank you for elaborating on that. I'm inviting our listeners to please do post some questions or comments, so that at least we can also engage you and bring you also to this discussion that is ongoing. Please don't be left out. I have this question that I have to present to my panelists, both of them. I'll give you just maybe 2 minutes each to reflect on the question, so that at least we can close this first part, this second part of our segment. So as we look to the future, what AI-driven security trends do you both believe enterprises should be aware of, and how should they prepare? I hope you caught my question. I can repeat it. So who is ready to take that one? Tuli?
Yes, thank you, Prof. I saw a question that are digital forensic being used in South Africa? Yes, extensively. They are being used, especially by law enforcement, and also at the CSIR, we are using great AI-powered digital forensic tools. So yes, trends that can be used to. Prof, can you quickly repeat your question? I think I got it, but just to confirm meaning there before I respond.
Perfect. So I was asking, so what AI-driven cybersecurity trends do you believe enterprises should be aware of, and how should they prepare?
All right. Can I just share? So these are some of the AI cybersecurity trends that I think enterprises should be looking out for. As I said before, I don't think that it's completely new cyber attacks that we must anticipate, but rather it is cyber attacks that is now enhanced by AI. So a huge one is these LLMs for cybersecurity. Much as these can be used to, let's say, create phishing attacks that are more easier to believe, because remember before there was a tip to say that in order to determine whether an email is legitimate or not, look out for spelling errors. I don't think that is going to work anymore. Well, you don't only look out for spelling errors solely, but that was a tip that most of us would use, that, oh, if there's a spelling error, then this must be from a malicious actor. But now, with the growth of LLMs like ChatGPT, just to mention one, they really great phishing emails can be drafted, one that are easy to believe. Even on social media, We see that identities can be stolen in a manner that is, users could believe that they are talking to a celebrity, for instance, where they are not, because LLMs can be used. You can simply consult ChatGPT to mimic, let's say, a well-known artist. I won't mention names, but you can tell ChatGPT that pretend as if you are this famous songwriter or artist, and write a tweet to say something bad, maybe that would affect, let's say, the general elections process next year. And then one would easily create a profile on social media pretending to be someone that they're not. And because these LLMs have been there, and the data that they trained in is quite good, they can really come up with a nice profile that one would believe that it's an official person that is speaking, but not. So one of the tools that can be used is the same tool that is being used to attack, is the same tool that can be used to defend. So we can also, for example, threat hunting, we can write great hypotheses in short spaces of time. We can also still command ChatGPT, and I'm using ChatGPT as an example. So we can command ChatGPT to write a hypothesis that can be tested easily, and then ChatGPT can write that, and I can test that, and I can even tell ChatGPT to say no, refine it, or give it more specifics to look out for, and ChatGPT can do that. Again, ChatGPT can be used, or rather, let me not use the term ChatGPT, let me say generative AIs or LLMs can be used to write code in a short space of time. Y- Going back to the example of pretending to be someone that you're not, even on the offensive side, you can ask an LLM to write a piece of code to create a fake website, and you can attach a malicious code there that users can click on. Maybe you send them an email and they can click on, and then they're directed to a malicious website, and personal data or login credentials can be stolen. So the same can be done using LLMs to then maybe go through log data to identify any anomalies, or it can be used to detect malware, and it can be used to also identify anti-spams, also vulnerability management. By vulnerability management, it is a process where threat intelligence come in, and I like the idea of threat intelligence. I'm going to expand on it in the next slide, but this is a collection of data from various sources that cannot be done only, using human capabilities, but with AI we are able to collect a great deal of data that can be used to come up with threat intelligence, and with that we can avoid cyber attacks that would have had a great impact on an organization or even a country at large. Forecasting is also one of the great ones, because um, we always have to be ready for cyber attacks, as whether organizations or individuals. So with forecasting, you are able to forecast a cyber attack, for instance, and you are able to have critical data that can be used to then prevent that cyber threat from becoming a cyber attack. So forecasting is also really a great AI intervention in cybersecurity that I think organizations should look out for and use. And I still emphasize threat intelligence. It can save a lot of time and can save companies from cyber attacks. Also, incident response. Now, with incident response, AI can be used to shorten the time that an incident can be resolved, beginning from investigation, where you are looking at a huge data set, or you are trying to identify where exactly the attack started from, you can use AI tools to monitor networks, like SIM tools, for instance. They do. Let me go to the next slide because it also ties into threat intelligence. So a SIM tool can be used as a threat intelligent solution. So as we can see from this slide, a SIM tool can get information from endpoint devices, from network traffic, from the AD, mail exchange, and below here, these are some of the cyber threats tools that can be used, cyber threat intelligent tools. So you can imagine that if it was only a cyber security team in an organization that has to collect all of this data and not a SIM tool, it would take forever and it really wouldn't be efficient, and it would be impossible to identify cyber threats before they occur, or to identify cyber vulnerabilities in systems, or to just have data as to understand this whole cyber threat landscape. So now with threat intelligence, cyber threat intelligence, SIM tools can do all of that in organization, and they create reports and even recommendations as to, say, for instance, a vulnerability was identified. It can create reports as to where exactly it is and what can be done to attend to that vulnerability so that it doesn't become a hole for cyber attackers to exploit. So yeah, I think that is where AI tools, these are the AI cybersecurity tools that organizations should be looking out for. Also, one that is important is training, education, awareness, because we can have all the technology tools in the world, but if the users within an organization are not aware of how these cyber actors or malicious cyber actors are trying to manipulate them, then these tools are not going to be efficient. Or if they do not know how to use the tools, or if they do not know all the things that a tool would do, then it really wouldn't be helpful. So invest in training your users, conduct regular cybersecurity awareness programs. If there is a chance to upskill employees, they should be upskilled. They should attend training, get certifications in different disciplines of cybersecurity. I think that is the number one tool or control for any company, honestly, before we can even get to AI tools and all of that. Let us have a workforce that is skilled. Let us have a workforce that has a learning mindset where we are just continuously learning, trying to understand the cyber threat landscape, because cyber criminals are ahead of us, or these malicious actors, they are ahead of us, and we do not have enough capacity as cybersecurity workforce. There is a huge gap where there is cybersecurity vacancies that cannot even be filled. And if we are not educated, if we do not have the skills, how are we really going to improve our cybersecurity posture as a country, as the world? Because it begins with an individual, a household, organization, and so on, up until it is at a national level. So yeah, invest in cybersecurity training, awareness programs, and all of that. Thank you, Prof.
Awesome. I'm liking the depth under which you've already touched on some of these aspects. And Ashilongo, I'm coming to you. Then we after you we can just take a quick commercial break. Then we also be picking up some of the questions that I'm seeing popping up in the chat as well.
Thank you. Hi, Prof. Did I miss the question somehow?
So the question I had presented to Tuli, which she also touched and also ended up also covering other aspects that we are going to be discussing later on. So I'd said, so is we are looking at what AI, some of the AI-driven cybersecurity trends that are happening. What do you believe enterprises should be aware of, and how should they prepare? So we're just looking
Okay.
at all these trends. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. And enterprises. Thank you. My mic is still on. I think the trends that we seeing regarding AI, maybe largely, if you allow me to expand beyond cybersecurity, is that there's a high adoption of AI tools, I think, across all sectors, right? Within cybersecurity, I don't know if there's anything else that I could add, because I think Tuli was very comprehensive with her response in terms of, how AI is being used or can be used within companies to make sure that they detect threats, that they protect data, and detect leaks and things like that, right? I think again, what enterprises should be aware of. I don't know if I could expand further, but actually, really, also position that there's a whole lot of training that is needed, and upgrading your staff. That upskilling, upskilling and reskilling is, it's not just catchphrases and words that is being used, should be used in this technology space. That we can't be using, for instance, job grades and old systems, for instance, data protection in workplaces that are no longer in the market. I think that makes it very susceptible, and I think this is what my colleague was already mentioning. There's a need for training for universities, and I think I should always reflect this. Is that our stakeholders, our shareholders, should consider funding for university to build those skills, right? And that our curriculum needs to be on par and needs to be updated and meeting the market's needs, right? There's a lot of partnership, and I think this is something I really like about technologies. There's a whole lot of partnership, capacity building that happens across many regions, global south to south, north or west to south, and I think that provides an opportunity for a lot of people, for skilled employees that are in the market, to take those opportunities and learn, right? I think from an enterprise point of view, again, do your audits, right? Make sure that your tools, your AI systems that you have in place, are not they don't put humanity at risk, right? That and also, again, be accountable for whatever decisions that you undertake with the tools and models that you have built. Fix if you must fix. It could take a bit more time. It could take more resources. But if it got to be done, I think it got to be done. Yeah.
Right. Thank you for that. I'm liking the comments that are popping up. Can we take a commercial break and we start taking the questions and comments from participants? And thank you for tuning in. For our participants, please stay with us. We're just going to take a short commercial break, then we'll start engaging with your questions when we resume.
Hi, have you thought about how artificial intelligence, AI, stands as a double-edged sword in the dynamic world of cybersecurity? Well, I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I figured how our webinar, AI in Cybersecurity, Revolutionizing Defense and Upping the Ante in Offence, so we will delve deep into the paradigm shifts AI has introduced in cybersecurity techniques. While AI-driven solutions have fortressed digital assets, malicious entities harness their potential to mount intelligent and unpredictable attacks. Explore the nuances of this duality with us, as our panel of seasoned experts from various industries decode the blessings and the curses AI brings to the cybersecurity domain. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't want to miss one.
Well, welcome. I like some of the comments and the interventions we are getting from our participants. I'll start off from one that I picked from Asive. As I go down, I saw you also responded to the other one, Trudy, before. So if I take from Asive, how can AI assist in finding and fixing software vulnerabilities? Whoever is ready to take that one, Tudi, over to you. Nashilongo, over to you. You can also check the other comments that you are also ready to pick up. We also have some scenario that also has been presented from Guinea. I hope I'm not pronouncing the name wrongly. Then I also see there's also another comment from Ma'au. So over to you, Tuli, Nashilongo,
Yeah,
whichever you're
I think
comfortable with.
I will first take Asive's question. How can AI be used? Where's the question? How can AI assist in finding and fixing software vulnerabilities? I would mention just one example where you are doing a vulnerability assessment. So you use tools, and these are AI-driven tools where it can take data from many sources. Like I showed an example of a SIM tool. That is an AI tool, and it can take this data and can identify logs that are a deviation from the norm. And from that, you can also trace where the attack is coming from. Not only that, you can also it can AI tools can also draft reports. These reports will then can then teach you about that particular cyber threat or vulnerability, to say what it is, how can it be countered, what needs to be fixed in the system, say maybe from the data that it collected. If it comes from a mail server, that report will tell you that, okay, this is a mail server kind of a vulnerability, fix it. It can provide ways, or a your browser certificate has expired, then upgrade that. There are a lot of ways that AI can assist in fixing software vulnerabilities. It's really endless. But yeah, that is exactly how vulnerabilities are being addressed now within organizations. Because if you were to do that manually without any AI tools, then I don't think we would get anywhere. I hope that answers Siva's question. Asive.
Okay. Well, let's maybe we wait for the response on the chat. Nashilongo, did you pick any that you want to respond to?
I think I'm
There is
muted.
one.
Yeah. Yes, there was a question from, I think, anyway, before I get to my question, just to say maybe Hanganeni's question might have also been answered by Tuli in that go. I think there was a question the question I want to engage on is from Dalu Holo, I think. Who says that I doubt, maybe it's not a question, I doubt robots will take over, considering the fact that a human intervention is always needed. And yes, that's the one. Well, that's not a question, but it really also just helps us to reflect on the use of technologies. As I think, as we've set the scene before, that these robots and models and AI powered systems are used and built by people. And at most, those people are also no, I think just generally as people, we are biased, right? And the bias that we hold can be reflected in the models that we have, that we build, for instance, and that could be where the challenges and the dangers could be. I agree with Daluholo that um, maybe robots automatically won't be able to cause any harm to society, but people, humans, with our bias, with our intentions, um, could uh, cause more dangers using those same tools. I think that's really what we're trying to say. And so, hence, the need for transparency, accountability on these tools and robots when they are released, for instance, in the market, just so that everybody knows that what it can do, what it cannot be used for, and hence again calling for those responsible AI usages and frameworks. Yeah, right.
Awesome. Do we have anyone to take this question on, given that skills are developed through practice and the fact that not all countries regulate AI, how do we maintain a balance between AI capabilities and human proficiency to keep AI? Uh, is Masomelele's question.
All right. Yes, I can take that question. That is a good question. So, yeah, you are right, Masomelele. Skills are developed through practice, and I do want to share a great tool that specifically speaks to cybersecurity skills using AI. But one way that we can maintain the balance between AI capabilities and our proficiency to keep them is once again through having the skills, knowing about these AI tools, understanding their limitations, using these tools and seeing what harm can be done. In the context of an organization, there has to be some cybersecurity controls in place so that if we are going to use these AI tools, if by any chance a vulnerability is being exploited, that organization can recover also through AI tools. So, for example, I would say in an organization, there has to be policies in place. So, starting from governance, every organization must have good governance practices. There must be policies that are going to regulate AI. As much as it might be a challenge to regulate AI, maybe on a national level, but every company can use standards that are there, information security standards or best practices, to write guidelines as to how their employees can engage with AI tools such as LLMs, because we know that in most organizations, ChatGPT is being used. And we need to be trained that even in universities, if you are going to use an LLM to write your research, you have to know that, okay, ChatGPT, for instance, it will give you information up until 2021. Anything further than that, it doesn't have. You have to know that these tools are not going to give you accurate answers. You must verify whatever information is generated by an AI, such as ChatGPT or BARD, or all of these LLMs that are now being largely used. So it's just those things, and we have to be aware. I think the best way is to educate ourselves. Listening to a webinar like this, it's one of the ways that we can help balance, the imbalances between these technologies and cybersecurity. So I would say education, learning, awareness, training for me is one specific solution in order to balance, AI and the downfalls of it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I personally, if I'm assessing even through the question and how you have responded to that, I'm actually impressed. I don't know if Nashilonko, you want to add on that, or you picked up a question that is hot on the chat that you want to jump onto.
Prof, thank you. I am finding more just comments. I think that are relatable. And thank you to our members, community who are joining us. Really, I'm liking that example that I think there was an example, a medical related example that somebody has given on the chat. Is anybody?
Yeah, it should be the one that talks about an article from a
Yes,
lady, Dalutolo.
yes,
Yes.
that's this one. Yeah, very precisely reflecting the importance and the needs of, of artificial intelligence, and I think that is the advantage that it has, that maybe humanity would not completely comprehend, right? Again, this is because models like that are built by are built by so many different people not maybe from different so many different people, but from a large number of data that maybe as a doctor, one person would not possess all that kind of information. But once you put it through large data analysis that is computed from, with historic background, it will be able to help. And that's, I think this is what we've seen. We're seeing that there's AI provides precision in legal issues, in medical issues, and it provides that advantage. And I think that's just really reaffirming the use of technology by humanity, but even from a security point of view. I think that one of the examples that Tulio has given is like, possibly if you walk into your lab or whatever, you would not be able, and you use your normal systems, you might not be able to spot faults or detect leaks or anomalies with your data, but maybe a model that is largely built will be able to help you with that, and that's because it is built from data from so many people from so many fields, and that can help you with precision, for instance, in decision making. So very good example, and thanks for sharing that. There's another question. I don't know if I should take it. Maybe I hand it over and then we come back again to me. And there's a question there that's asking, could you provide insight into the most common challenges that organizations faces when implementing AI-driven cybersecurity solutions? This is maybe not a question that I could answer with confidence as a non-technical person. I'm more a policy person. And I see, could you recommend any specific resource, courses, projects for aspiring software developers looking for to specialize in AI and cybersecurity? We're seeing a lot of these courses. Some of them are free, but many of them are issued by industry-driven organizations. And maybe that would be a very good place to start. Prof, I'm sure you will be the best to give those advices. Yeah, and I yield back to you at this point.
Okay. Thank you for that. So, Sisi, for this, your question asking, can you recommend any specific resources, courses, or projects for aspiring software developers looking to specialize in AI and cybersecurity? I had come today with a different head of just being a moderator, which is why I didn't even introduce myself. Now my panelists are trying to throw me on the deep end, but all the same, let me just try to give you a bit of maybe pointers around that. Of course, the resources are many, as already alluded by Nashilongo, to say some are industry driven and some are also uh, let's say provided from open sources. But you are actually even on the right platform right now. I'm going to talk from the angle of Picta. Picta is partnered with a lot of internationally recognized organizations, the likes of Cisco, the likes of Checkpoint, just to mention a few of those ones. And if you visit the Picta website, you would realize we have those training sessions that are actually open to you, especially so that at least you can start onboarding yourself on some of those trainings, irrespective of wherever you are coming from. I think we have been doing a lot at Picta, and you take advantage of that, and you could find yourself having access to some of the platforms. Even Coursera, we have an option that you can also use to have access to some of the courses on Coursera. So if you check on Coursera, you would find there's also deep learning specialization that you could actually find there. There's also one course that is offered by the Stanford University, also through Coursera, which is called machine learning. I think it's really more applicable even to software developers. And I could point you to say, look at some of the platforms, especially the ones that host open source data sets like Kaggle. They do have a number of dedicated courses which they also do offer, and you could try to also leverage from there. It's a whole list. We can't exhaust, but your first starting point at the moment, please do check the Pacta ecosystem. It's very rich. I feel it's underutilized because we have created and forged those partnerships and collaborations just for the purposes of ensure that we reach out to the youth, we reach out to the underserved communities. I'm just checking our time, and I don't want to keep my panelists really, they also have other commitments, but we'll try to see if there may be one or two questions which they can actually address to right now before we wrap up. Then I'll just give them a minute to give their parting and concluding remarks. I really value the time they've dedicated with us this afternoon. They've other competing engagements, but they decided to be with us. We have to also respect that. So, my panelists, please do check the questions. I see the questions that are popping up on the chat. We'll also try to take note of that and maybe see if there is a need to arrange maybe a next webinar session where we could also try to delve into some of these questions as well. Over to you, Tudi. Over to you, Nashilongo.
Okay, Apelele's question, Apelele David, could you provide insights into the most common challenges that organizations face when implementing AI-driven cybersecurity solutions? One of the most common challenges, I would say, the cost of having to implement an AI-driven cybersecurity solution within your organization. Nashilongo touched on having homegrown technologies. You know, there is a lack in that space. So if you want to employ an AI-driven cybersecurity solution, you might find that licensing for you to use that platform is expensive, and most organizations would then not be able to afford obtaining a license of such a solution because most of them are expensive. Another challenge, I would say, not knowing which solution to choose from, because there are plenty of solutions. And also Nashilongo mentioned that sometimes you have, let's say, a solution that does so many things, but you do not know, so you're not leveraging on the benefits of such a system. So a challenge would be where companies obtain many AI driven cybersecurity solutions, but they pretty much do the same thing and they end up paying more than they should. Or they have these AI cybersecurity solutions, however, maybe the employees are not using them, or they do not have the skills to use them to their full capacity. Another challenge would be, yeah, I think those two are the most common ones. Another one that I would mention is, say, maybe you are relying on an LLM to develop software code, for work purposes. You would find that, or not even a code, but you wanted to give you advice on cybersecurity solutions that you can employ in a workplace. There are lots of vulnerabilities with LLMs, lots of cybersecurity vulnerabilities, and OWASP has listed a number of them. If I were to, I cannot explain all of them, but there's like a lot. Maybe, for example, data leakage. Some of the LLMs can expose sensitive information or proprietary details. Say maybe you're working with clients' information and then you're feeding that to an LLM, that can lead to privacy and security breaches. There is prompt injections, there's permission issues. There are a lot of challenges, honestly, with applying AI cybersecurity tools in an organization. Once again, it comes to learning, knowing about these tools, and so that you can just leverage on them. Yeah. I don't know, Nashilongo, if there's a question that you want to answer. Okay, let's okay, Handy's question, Handy the philosopher. I like that name. How do we strike a balance between leveraging AI for enhanced cybersecurity defenses while mitigating the risk of AI-driven attacks, especially considering that malicious actors are also advancing their capabilities in AI? What strategies can organizations employ to navigate the evolving landscape? One thing I can say, Handy, is that no matter how much we are employing the cybersecurity controls in an organization, we cannot really be ahead of malicious actors. They are somehow always ahead of us. However, some of the strategies that organizations can employ is taking care of their governance. Cybersecurity governance must be part of corporate governance. It's no longer something that should be an afterthought. So there have to be policies in place that speak specifically to cybersecurity. There must be standard operating procedures in place that can teach employees how to engage with technologies, what to do, what not to do. There has to be training on a regular basis so that employees can um, behave responsibly online. They have to know what information they can give out, what information to protect, password protection, using the right kind of passwords, software security patches. An organization has to have those in place. There has to be filters in place as to what softwares can be used. Employees must not have the ability to download any softwares. So those are all things that are addressed by information security policies and can be implemented through the use of SOPs. Having technologies in place will be helpful, but also we need a skilled workforce. So yeah, those are some of the strategies that organizations can employ to navigate the evolving landscape. Just bearing in mind that, yeah, malicious actors are always going to be ahead of us. And as you know, there is a huge gap in cybersecurity, in the cybersecurity workforce, in the skills. So we can also try to bridge that gap. yeah, that is how I can answer that question for now. Oh, I didn't
Right.
see the example from the philosopher. Yeah, but I don't know if we're good for time. Prof, do you have questions for you?
Um, Time is a bit on the worrisome side from my end. So what we can do for today's session, I will just ask you, my panelists, just to give your one concluding sentence, so that at least we can officially close this session. We have also taken note of the interest from the viewers in terms of some of these aspects. And most of the times, whenever the topic around AI is also on the table, then everything else has to be brought in, which is exactly what I was also observing, which is interesting, and we might also just have to have a dedicated discussion around that. So over to you. I'm just giving you your 1 minute final concluding remarks. I can start with you, Tuli.
One sentence or concluding remark. I'm gonna come back to the fact that AI is not going to take over our jobs. It's not going to replace human beings. Artificial intelligent systems are developed by human beings. Even if they are able to learn on their own, they still rely on data, or they are fed data that comes from human beings. So let us leverage whatever AI has to offer, and also learn enough to know how to counteract some of the offsets that are going to come with AI. And yeah, I love technology. I really do not see a world where we are not using AI at all. So we'll just have to join in the dance and just secure ourselves, put cybersecurity first. Yeah, thanks.
Mm. I can see my panelists still have the energy. Okay. Nashilongo.
Thank you. Thank you again, Prof, for moderating this wonderful session, and also timely because this is Cybersecurity Month, just before we let it go. I think in coming back and reflecting on emerging technologies or rapid technologies and cybersecurity is really just to say that as more models or AI tools are being built, it's important that one, we put humans at the very center of those technology, right? And that we don't leave people behind it, right? So I'm just as an example, for your technology team that works for the Ministry of Defense or the police, make sure that you've got everybody, you carry everybody with you. They receive proper skills, and that they're able to find other purposes in contributing to the well functioning of the crime or cybercrime department. So that's one. Again, as ensuring that we have policies in place, right? Ensuring that tools that we are deploying within for cybersecurity reasons within countries are supposedly functioning in a very transparent way, right? That people are not targeted. I'm just trying to be very clear in choosing my words. We've had instances where facial detective technologies, for instance, picks up wrong people and, as you know, align them to specific cases and get them locked up for a very long time. So once there's no transparency, there's no accountability and reporting mechanisms that make sure that people are protected. We'll find ourselves with AI that is used to the detriment of people. Have the laws in place, protect humanity, get everybody skilled and upskilled. To an everyday person in the street, I think when you hear people talking about AI, don't consider it as a threat. It is an opportunity for you to gain a different skill. It's an opportunity for you to position yourself and see, how do I become, still functional, and I don't lose my job as everybody else think or see it. There's large tools to equip yourself, mostly largely available, mostly free. If you've got access to internet or whatever, make use of those opportunity and upskill yourself or reskill yourself. I think that's really that from my end, Prof. Let's be very transparent, private sector, particularly government, in the deployment of those tools, and make sure that they serve humanity and not, put humanity to the detriment. Thank you.
Wow. I have even try to say, okay, is it the beginning or is the closing of this session? Because my panelists are bringing all the nuggets from the very beginning, where we are saying, okay, now let's enter into the second segment of the webinar now. I could be tempted to do that. But of course, for the sake of time, because we know we have the day that is already planned, I also need to be jumping to my next meeting at 4 o'clock. So, which is why maybe I'm the one who is being selfish for this panel. But to be honest with you, this has been an enlightening session. I have done copious notes myself from both panelists. And if I'm going to take a task of trying to summarize this is also even a white paper that's ready for distribution already. If I may be honest with you, I don't really take for granted the time our panelists have taken out of their busy schedules to really be with us and share with us some of these important aspects, and really just opened up even our horizon in terms of rethinking AI, even in our respective domains, in as far as we've been focusing on AI and how it's revolutionizing the cybersecurity domain. You would realize we ended up even also leapfrogging into other domains, which is really just a testament to all of us that when it comes to AI, it hasn't like left any domain untouched. There are a lot of other domains that are still really grappling in terms of how do they onboard this technology and any other emerging technologies for that matter, especially when you're talking of the 4IR, when you're talking of the 5IR. And even if you look technology-wise, we are already having countries focusing on 5G. Japan is already on 6G. So there's a whole lot of some of those things that are happening in the space. And these and more of those other important topics to discuss around, please always tune in to PICTA. We are there to make sure that at least we really touch on some of these important aspects. And you might actually be hearing even from our panelists, even in future engagements as well. Please, if it was in a live session, I would say give them a round of applause. They really deserve it, and it has been an honor for me to be moderating this important session, and especially being amidst two powerful women within their respective fields. They are well respected in their fields, and I don't take that for granted to get their time for them to be with us. With this, I want us to conclude our session and say, have a great day and enjoy your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.